All right, well, welcome everyone. This is the SIG Windows meeting for February 19th, 2019. And I talked to Michael earlier, and he's currently on the road right now and won't be able to join us today, but he'll be checking on things if we need him to review or approve anything later today. So I guess with that, we've got a couple things on the agenda here. I'll paste that into the chat if you need it for reference. And if you have any other topics, feel free to go ahead and add them. In the meantime, hey, Michael's there.
Hey, how's it going? I just made it in Austin, literally 1 minute ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I looked up when you messaged me. I said, you should be able to make it to Austin in time, but okay.
Electric cars, man, you have to stop and charge midway.
All right. Hey, so Craig, your item's the first on the list for the docs outline. Are you ready to speak to that?
Sure. So the outline for the Windows containers and Kubernetes docs have been reviewed, and I think we've reached a good point where it's time to start pulling for folks to volunteer to write sections. So I'm going to paste the link into the meeting notes. It's not there right now. And I guess what we would ask, Patrick, you're doing it, looks like. Thanks. So I'd ask folks to go in there and put your name on a section, or 2 or 3, and volunteer to do some writing. Don't feel like you have to wordsmith. I think what we need is good, solid technical content. And we've also got some hours that we can use for some tech writers that Microsoft has, and hopefully maybe some of your companies can get some tech writers to help us do some review and editing of the doc. The challenge that we have is that we have just under a month until the docs have to be final, so the feature freeze for the docs. And so we need, in the next couple of weeks, to get some solid content drafted out. My idea is that we'd look at where we are next week and revise from there. I'd also like to see if we can get a few minutes on the engineering stand-up on Thursday to review who's stepped up for which sections and whether or not they need any help and want to collaborate with other folks in those sections. That's all I have for now. Anything you want to add, Michael or Patrick?
Nothing from my end. I think that, not this week, but next week I should be able to have some time to write a few sections myself as well. But yeah, don't be afraid if you don't have good writing skills. None of us have probably. So go ahead and, write to the best of your ability content that makes sense for a customer, include good step-by-step instructions. And, we can help massage some of that content into what's going to be the end material. And like Craig mentioned, he might be able to get some content writers to help us with the editing at the end.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I was just scrolling through the outline to see if there were any questions I had, or any sections I had questions on. So I think that looks good. Do you think it makes sense to raise any sort of tracking issues for these in GitHub, or do you want to basically just focus on getting this doc to completion, and then we'll just do like one merge later?
My bias was, because the SIG docs team wants to see the kind of breadth and depth of the content before they provide any advice about how many different PRs this is going to end up being. I think it's better to collaborate in the doc.
Okay. All right. So if anyone has questions about the doc progress, I'll say, our advice was to put everything in this one doc, and we're working towards having it all completed by what date?
I should have that at my fingertips. It's
Hey guys, I'm hearing feedback. I don't know where it's coming from.
Sounds like a bird.
it's my dog playing with a toy. Sorry, guys.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So March 7th is the freeze for all the code, and I believe 18th is the freeze for docs.
That's right.
So our goal here is to have finished that document by the beginning of March, I think. So that gives us about 11 to 12 days to get at least one version out, so we can all start reviewing it slowly. Give or take.
And you said the doc complete deadline was the 7th?
No, the code freeze is the 7th, 18th is the docs deadline.
Okay. Okay. All right. So the next thing I had on the agenda here was a few notes about what we're doing to stabilize the testing. So the first thing that I want to mention is that over on the Azure side, we're actually in the process of setting up a second Proud job. And so that way, if we have changes that we need to make around things like the CNI plugin version, or if we want to switch to a new Windows patch or add new tests, but we're not sure if they're stable or completing fast enough, we can add them in that second job without destabilizing what's there in the existing test grid. So I've got a link to that PR that's there. My ask is that if you're adding any new tests, if you could let us know roughly how long it takes to run those tests, that would be a big help. Or if you can link to the cube test logs or the ede.test logs on Pastebin or some site like that, that would also help. Because as we're adding more jobs, we need to increase the timeouts that we have for the overall test run that are enforced by PROW and cube test. Because one of the problems we had last week when we added or I guess it's 2 weeks ago, is when we added more tests that were taking a long time, it was causing the cube test binary to terminate the test pass. And then instead of seeing logs for the tests that actually ran, we got nothing. And so that we need to avoid that problem. The other thing I wanted to mention is that in terms of the Windows OS patches, last Tuesday was Patch Tuesday, and so there's a new KB number that I have linked there. That has all of the fixes that were in the previous hotfix, and so that the old one's been superseded by the new one, and we're planning on just using that patch level until we release 1.14. So that way we won't have that as another source of potential changes. Is that something that you're able to do, Peter, for the test running on GCP?
So we will get, probably this week, we'll release some new images, which will have which will include last week's patches. As far as pinning, that's something I wasn't planning on doing. I can probably find a way to do that if there's a good reason. Mm-hmm.
Well, the way we're doing it for Azure is we're just going to take the Windows image that was just released with that patch, And so instead of telling a test pass, deploy the latest Windows one, we're going to say deploy the specific one.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I guess it won't matter until, next month when we would release the next version of the images.
Yeah, but my concern is that code freeze happens before that next patch release. And so I just want to make sure that on, like the 12th or 13th during code freeze, we don't take a Windows change that we're not vetting separately. But and maybe it's not a huge risk, but
yeah, that's something I can do if you think it makes sense. So we can talk more about that offline.
Okay. Okay. Let me see. So did anyone else have topics they wanted to cover today?
I have a couple of questions. So Steve and Jeremy, I saw that we're adding unit tests for the GMSA accounts. By the way, I approved the PR. We're just waiting for a couple more. I don't know who needs to approve it now. I guess it's Brendan needs to
No, so basically it's any of the kubelet owners. So Yuju is already reviewing it. So once she's happy,
yeah. We'll go through. So my question there. So we have unit tests for that. Are we also going to add any tests into conformance for that work as well?
So I was thinking like in the alpha timeframe, we don't need any E2E tests, but starting from beta, we'll certainly need to start putting in.
Okay, that's fair.
And Patrick had some thoughts around.
That's fair.
I'm working on tests for it now, but they're not going to be ready for the alpha.
Okay, good. The second thing is on the when is the CRD and some of that work going to come in? Do you guys have any ETA, or is it still something that's?
Yeah, so I believe Jean is going to work on that. So basically he had an initial version going that looked pretty good, but basically he needed to separate out into 2 webhooks. So
Okay.
at a single webhook it's working, but what we put in the cap was 2 webhooks. So I think we should align with what we said we would do. So once that's in, yeah, it's going to be tracked out of tree. So that way it's not quite, it's not quite guarded by the March 7th date, but yeah, it's definitely work in progress and should be in a good state by.
All right, awesome. And I'm expecting that you guys will write the GMSA section for the docs, right? And a lot of it would probably be some of the stuff that you added in the cap, but including some examples. But we'll hold you guys accountable for that. By the way, Yuju is on the call here, so Yuju, I guess we're asking you if you can spend some time today or tomorrow and kind of give that GMSA PR the final push.
Yeah, I already gave a first round of review last week. I'll look at it again this week.
Thank you, much appreciated. The last thing I had, and this is more for is Adelina in? No, Adelina is not on. So Patrick, you've been going back and forth on this. Pick the right image that they're going to upload on GCR.io, and it's been over a week now, and we haven't made a lot of progress. So it looks like the right person that's going to push that image seemed to be Tim, and has permissions on GCR.io.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know, like I wish Claudio or Adelina were on to see what's going on here.
Yeah, I got a note from them on that, and they said that they had, unfortunately I don't have the link in front of me, but they were going to push the BusyBox image there. Oh, no, there's Claudio.
Well, they said they don't want to put the BusyBox because of the fact that it gets a lot of CVEs.
At the moment, my idea is to put a nano server image instead. At the moment.
Claudio?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you were a little bit fainted. Which image do you want to push on?
At the moment, we're talking about the nano server image instead.
Okay, yeah, so if Tim is pushing hard, just give me a ping on Slack. We need him to approve this and push this right away. That's the number one thing. The second thing is, Ben and Leah were working on the autoscale PR, and not PR, the issue to verify it works. And there is an image that's required for that has a couple of characters that are not acceptable by the Docker Hub, but they are acceptable by GCR. Claudio, can you work with Ben and Leah to make sure that their image is also pushed to GCR as part of this work?
Sure, will do. Just let me to some notes so I won't forget. Okay.
Hey, Leah, I'm at the customer, so I'm gonna have to run in a little bit. Can you please ping Claudio along you and Ben? It's the auto scale image that Ben wanted to push.
I got it.
Thank you, appreciate it. That's it from me, Patrick.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anything?
All right. I'm going to start looking back over the PRs I've been pinged on again this afternoon. Yeah, I was out Friday, so I'm like a day behind on those.
All right. Yeah, I'll be back online on and off today and tomorrow again. All right, guys. Well, we have about 3 weeks left before code freeze. So, our biggest thing is obviously the test effort. And we have a lot of in review or progress PRs. So let's get to them. And there's a SIG architecture meeting on the 7th of March. Patrick, Yumi, and Craig should attend that. And also Deep as well. So we can get approval for the alpha of GMSA, as well as the GA for SIG Windows. So that gives us 2.5 weeks.
And which meeting is this again? SIG
On the 7th of March, there's a SIG architecture.
Okay.
It's right after the community meeting.
So, I mean, have they said that they're going to re-review all the KEPs by then? Like, is that?
No, that's, for us, it's, they had us on that short leash for approval. So I want to make sure that on that meeting, we go and we show them the dashboard, do all the green tests, the GMSA and that is passed, and approved, and the PRs in, and a document that shows what works and what doesn't work with the updates based on all the testing that they were doing.
Okay.
And hopefully get a green light that we're going to go GA.
Okay. I think we should ping a few people before then, specifically Brian, just so he can be aware of it before that. If he's got any questions, we can answer them. Just because I think the 7th is almost too late. But
my goal was I wanted to get all the tests to be green using image.cr.io before we ping Brian, and that's
okay.
I kind of pushed for that right now. If our test grid is not green, he can actually go in and say, yes, this is good.
Okay. All right.
So we need to get that done immediately. All right, cool.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, all.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye.